There's a battle going on the Chesapeake Bay. On one side, a multinational, multi-million-dollar corporation. On the other, a grassroots group with 3,000 likes on Facebook. They're fighting over one fish. Investigative reporter Chris Horne has more on what's at stake. Chris?
Nicole, that oily fish in the middle is menhaden. You won't see it on the menu anywhere, but you will see it in food additives, nutritional supplements, and pet food. Omega Protein has been fishing the bay for menhaden for 140 years now. Boaters and fishermen say omega is bad for local waters.
It makes no sense why it's allowed. I don't understand why. Nobody can explain why.
Here's the haul that local fishermen say is hurting the Chesapeake Bay. Omega Protein catching menhaden by the thousands. They're quick and efficient. Omega's vocal opponents say they're fouling local waters and beaches, crowding out the little guy and fishing too close to shore.
The guy catching bait for crabbers isn't going to hurt the bay. It's the method that Omega uses to fish and the scale that they fish on.
Last month, the Dempster was fishing about 3/4 of a mile from Chicks Beach. The Tangier Island was even closer, just over half a mile offshore.
Why do you have to fish that close to the shore, less than a mile from a populated beach?
Well, I mean, this may seem like an oversimplification, but that's where the fish are.
A native of Virginia Beach, Epstein comes from a fishing and boating family. He started the Chesapeake Bay Defense Foundation.
They fish off at Chicks Beach, and then the next day, hundreds of fish wash up on the beach dead. Horseshoe crabs wash up dead.
Epstein's group has gained grassroots support on social media, as well as from state lawmakers.
This is a serious concern. It impacts the bay, but it impacts the tourism industry of Virginia also.
So who's accountable? Unlike any other species of fish, menhaden falls under the General Assembly, not state regulators. Knight says it's been that way for at least 50 years.
They wanted it put into the political hands of the politicians so they being Omega, could kind of control it.
Knight's both a lawmaker and a fisherman. He says menhaden belongs under the Virginia Marine Resources Commission because it could keep a closer eye on Omega.
They have the dead fish washing out, they have the slime line and everything, and when all this happened this year and the fishing went from fantastic to almost zero.
And here is that slime line, a gray foam that rises to the surface when Omega is fishing.
It smells foul, and I'm trying to find out what is that.
It's largely seawater.
See the fish shooting onto the boat? Omega sucks up water to help move them from the net to the hold. That water then gets pushed back out into the bay.
Of course, there could be some organic matter, could be some fish scales, fish flesh, things like that.
We checked with the Department of Environmental Quality. That agency confirms that Omega has no violations in recent years relating to the foam. And Omega is breaking no laws by fishing close to shore because there is no such law. Omega says there's a gentleman's agreement that Omega captains will not fish in a 3-mile buffer from Cape Henry Light to the fishing pier at Sandbridge. That's essentially the oceanfront tourist area. But once they turn the corner into the bay,
then that school of menhaden, or that portion of that school of menhaden, to us is fair game.
Epstein says he's not afraid of the whale in local waters.
Get them out of the bay until we know what the impact of them being in the bay is.
If the dialogue starts with let's push Omega's boats outside of Virginia state waters, that's not a reasonable starting point to us.
So we're not sure where the common ground exists. DEQ monitors Omega's operation both on the water and at its plant in Reedville. Menhaden catch limits were recently increased by 10% after they were cut by 20% a few years ago. That increase was based on a study that found that menhaden was not being overfished in the bay. Omega's opponents dispute that conclusion. Plenty more on wavy.com. Chris Horne, 10 on your side.